just not cricket, or is it? How 2020 is taking off in China. The ISE president talks to Sportsworld about drugs, child labour and modern art. Surfs Up will take you to the waves of Tahiti to find out why no Tahitian surfers ever won their home event on the Pro Tour. Welcome to Sportsworld, Al Jazeera's regular look at sport around the globe. I'm Rahul Pathak. Now, the sport of cricket has its eyes on the World 2020 Championships in South Africa. All the big teams are there: India and Pakistan, England and of course Australia. Now, one nation who won't be taking part is China. They have almost no cricketing heritage, but as Tony Cheng reports, moves are being made to change all that.
The Middle Kingdom, China, and the Great Wall that kept the barbarians out for so long. But today, in the 21st century, China is sucking up inspiration from all over the world. The latest foreign fad to hit China is cricket. This match, the first of a new inter-university league between Jiaotong and Tsinghua universities. But while the level of play isn't that high, there's certainly some expectation that China will make a splash on the global cricketing stage in its own unique way.
The Chinese will soon find a ball that no one else has found so far because they have ingenuity on their side, they have diligence. I'm sure they'll create a ball that we in the West Indies or India or Australia haven't really come across. I think there is this element of a magical turn.
Not surprisingly, with a game that's so foreign and new, the Chinese have been relying on imported talent to get them started. Nonetheless, there's no lack of enthusiasm amongst the players and spectators. The bright-coloured uniforms and aggressive stroke play are all part of the strategy to drag a new group of fans to a sport that's often seen as old-fashioned and boring. It's the new 2020 game that's being introduced here. Rapid results and exciting action. The Chinese Cricket Board knows that to succeed it needs to steal support from the enormous fan base that soccer and other global sports enjoy.
When China decides to do something, it does it incredibly quickly and on a massive scale. The Chinese Cricket Association has plans for 15,000 players by 2009 and to increase that to 150,000 within the next 10 years.
I think for all of our non-test playing nations, we ask them to have short-term and long-term goals, and I certainly look at the China project as a step-by-step 20, 30-year project. That's the way that we should be looking at it in terms of trying to create a national team at the higher levels. I think what it's all about now is participation, creating interest for the game and some enthusiasm.
But the real hopes for Chinese cricket success lies in middle schools like this one in Beijing's sprawling suburbs. These are the players of tomorrow, not the pampered university amateurs of today. They practice hard and it's paying off. At last year's Under-15 Asian Cricket Cup in Thailand, they finished 4th. For an hour every day after school, they go through their drills, under the watchful eye of their coach, a former professional footballer.
It's a great sport for us. It's not only good physically, but it's good mentally as well.
I can catch the ball, I can throw the ball. It's fun. It makes me physically tougher.
Cricket's still only in the earliest stages of setting down its roots in China. But the will of the Chinese cricketing authorities seem to be to take China to the highest level of the game. It may well be represented at the South Asian World Cup in 2011. Tony Cheng, Al Jazeera, Beijing.
Now, next week, Sportsworld will be in South Africa for the World 2020 Championships. Now, China is rarely out of the sporting spotlight at the moment, and neither is this man. He has recently had to deal with allegations of child labour being used to make Olympic merchandise, the cloud of pollution hanging over Beijing, and the constant battle against doping in sport. But Jacques Rogge knew that taking over as president of the International Olympic Committee wouldn't be easy. Sportsworld's Carrie Brown went to meet him.
and Mr. Jacques Rogge.
He's one of the most important men in world sport, Jack Rogge presiding over arguably the IOC's most audacious challenge to date, taking the Olympic Games to China. Building work in the capital is on schedule, but the organisers have had some tough questions to answer regarding allegations of human rights abuses.
We've received assurances by the Chinese that they would definitely respect all the requirements of the Olympic Charter, amongst which you have the freedom of information and freedom of circulation for the media. This is something that has been achieved, and this is unique. And this is the effect of the Olympic Games, and this is going to be lasting effect. This is not going to be just for the Olympic Games themselves, but this is something that will change really society in China.
A recent survey, however, revealed child labour has been used to manufacture Olympic merchandise in China, a practice Rogge refuses to tolerate.
It is just plainly not acceptable, and we are going to take measures against that. No one should doubt about the purity of our intentions. We have always set the standards very high, and I will make sure that this not happen in the future.
Rogge took office in 2001, the former Olympic sailor bringing with him a staunch zero-tolerance approach to drugs, introducing strict doping controls, which he constantly reviews.
We are going to step up the number of tests both in and out of competition at the Beijing Games. We had approximately 3,600 tests in Athens. We'll go up to 4,500. And in between the Sydney Games in 2000 and the Beijing Games in 2008, the number of tests will just have doubled.
The Beijing 2008...
Rogge and the IOC have declared a war on doping amid a number of high-profile drugs cases in Olympic sports, such as cycling and athletics. Rogge is in no doubt where the blame lies.
It's the athletes who are guilty, not the administrators. And I believe that indeed both the International Track and Field Federation and the Cycling Federation are waging an exemplary war against doping. They are the two federations who have most tests, and they absolutely fight against that.
Dwayne Chambers and Kelly White both tested positive for tetrahydrogesterone and have since gone on record to say, you can never beat the cheats. What's your message to them?
Whenever someone has taken doping, he or she would tend to say that everyone takes doping, but that's not true. That's not true. We are not naive. We know that there is doping. We know that we'll never get into a society without cheating, because this is the inherent weakness of man. But definitely, yes, there is a clear message for young athletes. You can do it without doping.
The 22nd Olympic Winter Games in 2014 are awarded to the city of Sochi.
Time is now running out for cities to bid for the 2016 Games, and with Dubai and Doha expressing an interest in hosting the Games, what is the possibility of an Olympics in the Middle East?
I don't think this is a priority for the Middle East today. Hosting the Olympic Games must be fitting into a priority list of a city, a region and a country. I doubt very much that the priority for the Middle East today is to organize Olympic Games. So let's be realistic. Security is always, probably the #1 factor at all Olympic Games. But we are not linking this to a particular region.
Welcome to the next stage in our journey to the Olympic.
Now that London has been awarded the Games in 2012, one of their priorities was to come up with a logo for the Games. The final design caused huge controversy in Britain, but the IOC president is a fan.
No, let me tell you that I like it, and maybe I like it also for another reason, is that apart from my sporting life, I'm really addicted to modern art. And within modern art, I especially love the abstract art. Now, this is a very abstract logo, so that's probably why it pleases to me.
Now, you're well into your reign as the president of the IOC. What would you like to be your legacy when you leave here?
I don't think about legacy. I think in terms of urgencies, I think in terms of priorities, and that's enough, believe me.
What is your current urgency?
The current urgency, I believe, for the International Olympic Committee and the sports movement in general is to engage better with the youth. There is a growing inactivity in young people nowadays, which leads to an increased obesity. And on average, young people in many rich countries definitely sit in front of a screen for more than 20 hours a week. We have to get them moving again.
And is this why we're hearing of the introduction of youth-orientated sports like skateboarding in 2012?
It's a possibility. I would not want to jump on the conclusions of a study we are doing, but this is a possibility, yes. And in general, we need to have a young, fresh Olympic program that appeals to the youth, because the youth is the future of the Olympic movement.
Now, as ever, you can keep up to date with all the latest sports news on our website. That's aljazeera.net/English. Now, stay with Sportsworld, because coming up, we'll be going surfing with some of the best in the world on the Pacific island of Tahiti.